So much fun. And then I took him, we had a safe house that we shared with the Pakistanis. And we had captured this guy, this bad, bad guy. And he was so dangerous that we didn't dare put him in the jail with all the other Al Qaeda prisoners. So we chained him up in this safe house in a bedroom. So I'm telling Koffer, I said, listen, while you were on the plane on the way over, we caught so-and-so. He's like, you're kidding me. I said, no, we caught him. We busted down the door and we grabbed him. He goes, where is he? I said, he's actually upstairs. Do you want to see him? He goes, you know, I've never met an actual Al Qaeda guy. So I said, let's go see him. This is probably a violation of some Red Cross regulation or something, but I took him up there. I unlocked the door. The guy pops up out of bed and he's chained, both his ankles and his hands, and he's chained to the bed, but enough wiggle room that you can move around and, you know, stretch or whatever. So he jumps up and I said, Mr. Ahmed Shmahmed, this is Mr. Koffer Black of the Central Intelligence Agency. And Koffer nods and the guy nods. And Koffer says, are you getting enough food? And the guy goes, yes, sir. Are you sleeping well? He's, yes, sir. Are they treating you well? He said, yes, sir, they are. Okay, then. Good luck. And we left and I locked the door. And he goes, that was so cool. I've never met an Al Qaeda terrorist. I've spent years chasing them.
And I'll tell you why. Because for us to win, we have to destroy the regime.
What are they duking it out over? Whether to watch Love and Hip Hop Atlanta or 101st and Park.
I'm totally serious.
They're duking it out, like blood flying. And I'm just sitting there. They're like literally 3 feet away from me. I'm doing my email. Well, on the camera, on the security cameras, they can see in what was called the SIS, the Special Investigations, whatever, service. Or
These two morons who just did investigations down there.
they see that I'm standing there. Well, and the thing is in prison, if there's a fight, everybody scatters. You run back to your cell because you do not want to be implicated in a fight. But I'm like,
fuck you. I'm not doing anything. I'm finishing my email.
So as soon as the fight ends, I hear,
Kiriakou, Lieutenant's office, immediately. I was like, you dopes.
So I walk down to the lieutenant's office and I go, what? Why don't you tell us about the fight? I go, what fight? Oh, you're going to be a wise guy. I go, I don't know what you're talking about. Very funny. We saw you on the camera, just standing there. I go, yeah? I think maybe you were fighting.
How do you like that? Why don't you tell me about the fight, since you seem to know so fucking much about it?
And they were like, get the fuck out of my office.
And I was like, exactly.
I'm shaving, getting ready for work, and my oldest son was 6 years old at the time. He's sitting on the floor next to me watching me shave. And I'm asking him, so what are you going to do today? What are you going to learn today? You know, what are you going to play at recess? And then he says to me, I told mommy
She shouldn't kiss Uncle Stelios on the lips.
she should only kiss you on the lips, and she told me to mind my own business.
I felt like I had been electrocuted.
I went into the bedroom. She was sleeping.
I kicked the bed.
And she says, what?
I said, who the fuck is Stelios?
She said, where did you hear that name? I said, who is he? And then she said, don't believe everything a 6-year-old says. And I said, I'm going to leave.
You have. His mother used to come to visit him. She was pathetic. She would stay in this $35 a night, roach motel down the street. And he would sit in the visiting room and just bawl the whole time his mother was there. Finally, I said to one of the Italians, I said, I've had it with this guy. I'm going to fuck this guy up. And he's like, no, don't do that. You're going to go to solitary. I said, no. I would never be so crude as to do it in public. I said, watch and learn. So when you're being released from prison, they give you a paper called a merry-go-round. And all it is, it's a paper with your name and your prisoner ID number. And then it lists all the offices in the prison. And you have to go on your last day, you have to go and get a signature for each one. It's meaningless. It's just to keep you occupied that last day. Or deep cover for decades. And he's just walking the halls.
He's not an instrument of the government. He's a counterbalance. He's a check against their overreach. He's a journalist.
They're going to run with that.
It's so absurd.
I was shocked.
What did you think of Bill Burns,
I wrote an op-ed when Bill Burns was
the
appointed.
former ambassador to Russia,
Yes.
and then up until January, the CIA director?
I said that I disagreed with his position on Russia, as I think every free-thinking American should. But we needed an outsider in that job. Having insiders is a mistake. You know, Obama proved that. Having insiders, Clinton proved that. It's just a mistake. It's incestuous, and they feed on each other.
Yes.
So you needed an outsider. Bill Burns was one of the most highly respected ambassadors that we had in the State Department.
That is true.
And I called him the adult in the room. And I thought, you know, if we have to have a Washington insider in that position, he was a good choice.
Yep. That sounds right from everything I know about him. When you worked there, did anyone ever talk about the murder of the president in 1963?
Yeah. Oliver Stone and I got into quite a spirited argument about this one time because I made the mistake of saying that I didn't think we had given enough thought to
that Hamilton 68 was.
So Hamilton 68 is like so many of these other companies. I mean, how do you even describe a company like this? They're staffed. They're founded by former CIA, FBI, NSA, DNI people to go through the news and to decide what is real and what is fake. And so they'll do things like issue warnings, for example, on alternative news sites, consortium news, for example. They'll say, oh, this is unreliable. It's they publish Russian propaganda. Well, you know what? They actually don't. They were founded by a guy who started with the Los Angeles Times and then spent almost his entire career with the Associated Press. He's the guy that broke the Iran-Contra story. You don't like their position on on Ukraine and Russia.
1,000 miles away.
Not to get too far off the topic, but
6 to 12 months to move a satellite from one place to another. Right. That's why we didn't liberate Kuwait until February of 1991. The Iraqis had invaded August of 1990 because we had to move a satellite from over Moscow all the way over to be over Iraq and Kuwait. And it took months to move the thing. So some countries, he goes, I don't think I approve. I said, I didn't ask for your approval. And then he just kind of sat there like this. And
You need a drink or you use the bathroom. We're gonna hypnotize you to help you remember some of the things that you saw that day. He said, I want you to raise your hand like this. And it wasn't propped. It was up in the air like this. He said, don't put your hand down until I tell you to. He held his arm there
for 3 hours.
It was inhuman. A conscious person couldn't do it. I start asking him questions. Okay, you pull off the exit. You drive to the church. The church is right off to the side of the road. And then what happens? A van pulls up. I said, can you see a license plate? This freaks me out.
Oh, I got chills just thinking about it.
He says, yes. And he's like this with his eyes closed. I said, what does the license plate say? And he goes,
And then he reads off the plate.
and the plate comes back.
Stolen. I couldn't fucking believe it.
I couldn't believe it. And he's like this the whole time. And he went on like this. It was this long, elaborate, 3-hour-long story.
This is one of the wackiest things that I ever witnessed at the agency. So I was the first translator, and I told him, we're going to count backwards from 10 and just relax and think about the numbers, right? So we start, and he said, I want you to raise your hand like this. And it wasn't propped. It was up in the air like this. And he said, don't put your hand down until I tell you to. He held his arm there.
For 3 hours.
It was inhuman. A conscious person couldn't do it. So the guy's out before we get to 0, counting back from 10. So I start asking him questions. Okay, you pull off the exit. You drive to the church. Church is right off to the side of the road. You go behind the banyan tree. Then what are you doing? He said, I'm peeing. And then what happens? A van pulls up.
that because I knew that I was telling the truth, everybody else would come around to my point of view.
That's exactly what happened.
And now here we are, 19 years after I blew the whistle on the CIA's torture program. And America is on my side of this issue. And the torturers, they're dead or they're disgraced. There's nothing better than being on the right side of history.
Or maybe even a pro-American, pro-Israeli government, which is just beyond the pale. For the Iranians to win, they just have to survive. And they've been there for 5,000 years. You know, we're going to have to occupy this country. Think of it this way, too. We had 170,000 troops in Iraq. That was at the height of the conflict, 170,000 troops. Iran is 3.8 times the size of Iraq, with more forbidding terrain. Iran is the size of the whole of Western Europe. Well, we only have but 50,000 troops in the region and 2 carrier attack groups. We can't occupy Iran and overthrow its government. Where things to me were especially egregious, and I can go on about this for some time, was that Netanyahu convinced the president that as soon as we fire that first rocket, the whole place is going to come down like a house of cards. And I guarantee to you, I base my reputation on it, no CIA analyst or State Department analyst or Defense Department analyst.
Thing that I'm going to regret for the rest of my life.
And so I got in the car and I went to work.
I'm going to say something that's going to cause me trouble, but I'm going to say it anyway. I gave an interview to an Indian news outlet 2 weeks ago, and I didn't say anything that I haven't said 1,000 times. I said one thing. I said, in a conventional conflict,
India would beat
Pakistan.
because it has 5 times the people. Yeah. The death threats. I've lost count of how many death threats I received. And then, the best of all, like my lawyer's like, got to keep a low profile, just be aware of your surroundings. I know, right?
John's like,
Yeah.
fuck you.
So I get a letter from the president of Imran Khan's political party,
Oh,
right?
man.
Whatever it's called, the Pakistan, whatever party.
You got a letter.
A letter
For
in the
an
mail.
interview.
And he says that they condemn in the strongest possible terms what I said to the Indians, and they demand an immediate apology to His Excellency, the former Prime Minister, to the members of the party, and to the people of Pakistan.
For giving an opinion?
Yeah. So my lawyer's like, just throw it away. Just throw it away. So I didn't throw it away. I sent him an email, and I said,
Oh my God.
in regards to your demand for an apology,
I wipe my ass with your demands for an apology.
and I hit send. And that's how I left it, and I haven't heard back from them.
Disappointed's not the word.
I'm sickened.
By what you've done.
You're a wanted fugitive. Your life is essentially over. Another thing, too. I know how skinny you are. I know you only weigh but 95 pounds soaking wet. You need to eat burgers. You need to bulk up. Never mind.
It's too late. The CIA already sent 35 fucking cruise missiles to your house in Kansas. Good luck.
Recruit, and they set this Ayatollah up with a prostitute, and he had sex with this prostitute in a room where they had cameras everywhere, and so they bumped him afterwards. They bumped into him and said, hey, we have all these pictures, and they laid out the pictures of him, butt naked with this prostitute, and he said, yeah,
Give me that one.
Right? One of the biggest intelligence threats to the United States, and this is not new, this has been decades, 80 years, is the threat of counterintelligence. If you recruit a Russian, a Chinese, a Cuban, an Iranian, a North Korean, whoever, you always have to worry that you didn't actually recruit them. They allowed you to recruit them so that they could be double agents and report back to their home services.
Well, I have a question for you then. Let's go back to 1990 when you
to the involvement, the possible involvement of Santo Trafficante and the mob. And he said, "Oh, you're so full of shit," he says, and he just started yelling at me. I came to my own conclusion. I talked to Bobby Kennedy about this too. Actually, he's the one that pushed me over the edge and led me to this conclusion. I believe that elements of the CIA were responsible for the assassination of the president. I don't agree when people say it was a CIA operation, because John McCone was the head of the CIA, yes, and he was Bobby Kennedy's best friend.
A name forgotten to history, but
that's
yes,
right, and a good and decent man. But there were a lot of people, unfortunately, one was a Greek American, who
very famously,
very, very famous Greek American, his name does not bear repeating, who hated John Kennedy for not providing air cover for the Bay of Pigs.
Yes.
And wanted revenge against Kennedy. And these guys were still in constant touch with the Dulles brothers, who were also just dark stains on American history. And so I came to the conclusion that, yeah, there were CIA officers who were responsible for carrying this thing.
Did you think that when you worked there?
No, I didn't. In fact, I thought it was so absurd. I couldn't believe people were even talking about it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, we're the good guys.
Yeah.
Why would we kill the president?
I thought the same. Why haven't all the files been released?
I genuinely don't know. For JFK, I think they have been.
No, they have not.
They have not.
No.